What is poppin', people? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. We got some Bagra Army featuring yours truly from some playtesting at work, a best of 3 against not quite Bloomlord, as we traded away some blooms for some alt arts. So now kind of more of a Hydramon slash Lotosmon control. Definitely a suboptimal start with the second rookie passing over 4. You never really want to give Bloom that much. Should be 4, but yeah, the Lotosmon does kind of work in replacement for Bloom. It certainly gives up a lot of aggression, but you do get the stuns, which obviously allows Hydra to then put in work. It's just you're not really gaining back as much memory. It is fairy type as well, so you can get the double hit off of the Palmon, which does make things helpful, and we are just digging over on the right, looking for some sort of piece that can help us out. Mad Leomon and the Troopmon. The Troopmon's there to try and punish Digimon being hard played, but Digivolution for 2, the Veemon, will get immediate value if it's not dealt with, and with it unsuspended, there's very few ways we can actually deal with it. That is one of them though. We're going to pass over 60, Digivolve 1 onto both. That brings us back to a Palmon and a red Veemon, but plenty of opportunity to go back up into a 5 with the Palmon in the back. This new control definitely makes use of a bunch of BT11 pieces just to test a bunch of vegetation and also limit the number of proxies in the deck. Slowly getting closer to a fully tournament playable deck, but for now, just doing what we can. See the suspend off of the Lotosmon going out, but because of the draw off the gummy, we will get to make some magic happen with the Mad Leo. Is going to get swung over, but no save unfortunately, so once again can just Digivolve for 2, and the Veemon has to be swung over. Goes into Bagramon, but maybe should have just swung at security first, get some pressure going. At the very least, the Lotus will disappear, and since the Muso's underneath, we're not having to worry too much about losing any extra memory or anything like that. If we do see the Digivolution, then it is going to cost. If we still had the Mad Leomon, then we would be able to actually force the draw straight away off of the Palmon. So Bagra's brought it down to 4. We do have the life lead for now, but Palmon swinging in is going to hit into a U. Now things become incredibly doable. Digivolve with the Digisorption, and it will unsuspend. Because Digivolve, we're going to trash off the Tamer. Goodbye, Ken. So still no memory Tamer on the side of Bloom, and we're just going to drop the Hydra quite literally. But we're not going to get the... not going to be getting the bottom deck because it needed to swing first in order to get it. Priority here, honestly, should be getting rid of the Palmon, but unfortunately, brain smooth. Going to Digivolve for 2 into the Troopmon. I'm going to play the Mat for 2, so big misplay there. I guess, theoretically though, the Palmon, if it swings into security, then it has a pretty decent chance of dying. The question is just whether it will even swing. It looks like we're going to be seeing the Samadhi dropped for 1. And that's why that Palmon should have just been swung over. Wouldn't give it a target. Suspend that. It is going to swing. I guess he just forgot about the bottom deck. So just swings in, has them crash. And there's the realization. Definitely could have just swung into security and get the bottom deck at end of turn. Instead, we're going to see both those boss monsters disappearing. Digivolve for 3 in the back, and just going to leave that body on the board. The Palmon has survived for so long. And swing at security. Nothing dying. The second one actually dying, so we are going to say CD save. Pretty decent memory crawl there, back up to 3. And we're going to go into the Lilith, dropping it for 9. Trash top 4, add the U, and are we going to see a rookie or the Mad Leo? I think we could just depend on how many cards are in hand. I think 11. Looks like there's a decent number in there, so no point trying to keep that hand small. Instead, just going to try and buff our own. Since it does get pushed out, we're going to trash off the source in order to give that when attacking gain 3 memory. Or lose 3 memory, rather. So it kind of just dissuades that stack being used to swing, but instead it uses a Digisorption target. And the Lotosmon is going to suspend the Lilith and then swing over the Troopmon, which is going to pass turn thanks to the U. But this leaves us with a fully stunned board. Swing at security, and then we realize that should be stunned, so we are going to gain the memory and draw. But because I did that, that means we can't actually use the Demi-Mirror, because you do have to do the Demi-Mirror first. Going to go into Bagramon once again, Lotus under the Hybrid, which will kill off the stack. And there is going to be a slight misplay here. So if it does Digivolve, then even though there's no stack, we can still force him to lose memory, which might just make things a little bit more clunky for the Bloomlord. Even though there's no security, it's still worth it, because realistically green isn't going to be healing back, so you might as well just make their memory plays a little bit more complicated. I'm going to drop the Sunflower for 4. I'm going to start going over it. And we are going to go into the Cherrymon. So we're going to do it without actually going over with the Digisorption, which allows it to be an HPD target. So we roll that back and end up going HPD into Hydramon, which now has 2 suspended sources. Digivolving for 0 and should be able to then bottom deck the Bagra because it does get suspended. So that's where the -1 on memory would have actually come in massive, because it would have still forced the Cherrymon to either not be an HPD target and just Digivolve into Hydramon without using a HPD, or it would have to pass turn if they wanted to be greedy. But all in all, I don't think it's going to matter too much. It does mean that we do get double Hydramon as a result. And now we might be just a little bit too far behind. We're going to get the Soundbirdmon out. Buzzing Fist for 2 to try and pass over the minimum amount of memory. Going to take the single target we have. Jack Raid would have been lovely, but instead we are just going to go back for that. And do we try and play one on the board? No, just going to Digivolve for 2 in the back. At the end of the day, we don't need the U pressure. Maybe we do, actually. So swing, swing. Although I guess nothing to bottom deck as long as it stayed unsuspended, but you run the very decent risk of it just getting Samadi'd straight away if you did try and like Digicross it out. Red Vegemon comes down for 3. Astral in hand. We don't have enough memory, because he has gone wide on the board for 3. Or 4 Digimon, rather. Both the Hydramon's only going to be taking 1 memory each, which is still enough to take 2. And there's a once per turn redirect. So we will swing at security, lose the 1 memory twice, have it redirect, which will cause the Demi-Mirror and then the save. And then thanks to the Tamers, we're going to go back up to 3, drop a second U, and we're going to Astral to place 3 Bagra Armies under the fresh U. And then put the bigger stack under the smaller stack. We are going to gain the memory back and draw. Pretty much just hoping that... I think there's like 7 cards left. Pretty much hoping that the first or second check in security is the Astral. Right, final hatch for turn. We're both actually running very low on cards. I think actually down to 1. If I survive this turn, could just pass. No Digivolution going to be coming out. Just going to be looking to most likely swing, swing, swing. He's going to hit the U. And that will not be an Astral. So game 1 going to Bloom. Since we did lose, we are going to opt to go first. Trying to accelerate our demise, but first, let's mulligan. We are practicing for Ultimate Cup, so mulligans are most likely going to be legal there, so we are going to start practicing with mullies. And a pretty decent opening hand. Sambamon into you. Does look like we have the second one in hand as well. But with these one-cost Digivolutions, sometimes it feels like even giving 3 feels bad to Bloom, but 4 in the back, that's an expensive Digivolution on the Entmon. I'm going to swing, place Dame underneath because it's now just a vanilla. I don't think we have Tuamon in hand. Well, we did, but since the Dame is now gone, it's useless to us. Going to play a second U down, since we are at 3. And we are going to Digicross out for 2. Turboing pretty well. Good thing about this is if we do get suspended, then it won't be too bad. I think what probably would have been the better option though, would have been to go for a Troopmon, and you'd be able to pass over even fewer memory and they wouldn't be able to hard play things as much. You can see the Troopmon's there in the back. I'm going to play the Miss Memory Boost for 3. Since we already have 2 U's out, we don't really need to be greedy for the third, whereas the Miss Memory Boost kind of just makes up for the fact that he has a green memory boost out as well. Four memory to play with thanks to the Vegemon. And he's just going to play a Weedmon down, and it looks like we're going to try and go wide. After all, can get all of these bodies dropped. Gonna try and swing over it, and successfully will give us the save, but that does get rid of the board. Hasn't really been drawing anything, and yeah, passes over with more bodies on the board. Would have loved to make those punishable by the Troopmon. I believe the Troopmon was in hand, so it was a 50-50 on which we should go. And Troopmon definitely in Bloom is the preferable matchup, I think. Sure, they can get the draws off of Sunflower once it's in, but before then, it becomes quite difficult. I'm going to Digicross, give her a boatload of memory. But that is just going to be the D-Digivolve, and we've got 4 bodies on the board. Nothing in raising, goes back up. And possibly going to be going for the Ayatar. Still yet to do any chip damage. I think he's just basically fishing for the OTK. Suspends the red Veggie in order to play a second one, but he did play a Digimon, so we can make it slightly more expensive. Troopmon finally getting some value out. But at the very least, by suspending to make it free, it was only a 2-drop to make it happen rather than what could have been a 5 to pass turn. Instead, he goes wide even further. Things are looking very scary now. Swing, swing, swing. All those rookies that have been missing, and a Ruli, so can't even memory choke. Things become incredibly scary. Nothing died either, so the U's can't actually make a Digicross or anything like that cheaper. We're going to go over the Madleo because we're not expecting any draws to come out. I'm going to place everything in. That's going to be a D-Digivolve once again, so back down to the red Veggies. And then goes up to 3, then gains 1. First check Astral Snatcher. Exactly what you love to see. So we're going to put the Vegemon under something. First target was the Weedmon, but we're actually going to try and change it to put it under the red Veggie so it can be swung over easily next turn, because we already know that's guaranteed to be suspended, whereas everything else may not swing. But we are just swinging at security. And unironically, Astral was the reason that we survived this turn. Not only did we get 3 out of that, it also thinned the board down to 1. If he'd actually been chipping some stuff, then things might have been a little bit more difficult. But because he was kind of just swinging into the OTK, he kind of accidentally plays into the win condition there for Astral. And that's going to be us tied up at 1-1. Game 3 between Hydramon Control and Bagra Army. Some very drawn out games. Digivolving up in the back, not getting any of those field splashes. We're going to just play over to 1. Digisorption gets to stay turn. And how do you go from here? You just go into the Bloom. Or the Hydra, rather. Looks like the answer is yes. Going to pass this over at 4. Dame is now useless. Just going to swing that as security. And it does die, so we will get rid of the Damemon save. We're up to 5. And we are going to go into the Leomon with the Digicross. Make that a 1-drop. The hero. But thinking about it, if we wanted to choke, probably could have just gone for a single source rather than 2. But we are going to see quick Digivolution in the back. Really not splashing to the field that much, but just building the towers in. Trying to play single stack in order to not get astraled. Definitely the playstyle of someone that's gotten astral snatchered one too many times. It does change a person. Swing at security. Gonna place the lad under the boy. And then it will die, so the Goober goes under the guy as well. So now we do have 2 sources, and we are just going to play the Bagramon, give him a boatload of memory. But we're going to take his whole hand and take a look-see at it. Samadhi looks like the main problem. Grandel Sol could be quite useful, but we're just going to take the Samadhi, take it out. Because as soon as that's gone, and we do know that the Hydra's there, as soon as that's gone, the Hydra's going to be double bottom decking stuff. So we kind of want to disincentivize him doing it. Once he Digivolves, he is going to take a little bit of a hit. But the first check doesn't see anything. Will we see the suspension? Yeah. Oh, never mind. Just going to swing at security. Going to try and keep the pace. Goes into Bloom. Which does give back the memory and it restands. So he must have drawn into that because the Bloom wasn't in hand when the Bagra scooped everything up. Gonna swing for 2 checks, but hits into the Astral turn 1 on that first check. So now you go Hydra under the Bloom. There's no longer two bodies on the field, so it is just gonna be that single check, and we get to put the U underneath. And because something went under another Digimon, the Bagra lets us trash the top card of security, and it's going to be another Tamer. That's maximum value, literal worst case scenario. Swing over the Bloom now because it is smaller than the Bagra, which will kill off the entire stack. And Mad Leomon at security lives once again. Dame reduced the cost by 2, making it 3, and then choked to 1 with the Toir. That should be enough to put us out in front, unless you can find a way to splash 2 bodies to the board, but only on 1 memory. That might be all she wrote. Digivolve for 2, suspend and play a second Sunflower, but unless we hit Grandel Sol, I don't think there's much we can do here. It is going to be the 2-1. Bagra Army stealing it away with Astral Snatcher, our favorite card. If you've enjoyed the gameplay, make sure to bounce that like button, hit the subscribe, and ring the notification bell. We'll see you in the next one. Until next time, stay safe.